Yes. Welcome to motherfucking Valuable Perspectives. I'm super hyped today. I got two of the homies with me. Man, these brothers have been working in the digital space for like 12, 15 years now, building digital companies. You know what I mean? Now they're working in the NFT space. I got my homie Ben, my homie Lenny. Thank y'all brothers for joining me. Thank y'all.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So why don't you tell the audience, like, how did y'all first meet? You know, because I know y'all are like connected on some tech things and media stuff. Like, how did this relationship first get started between y'all?
I mean, I want to say like probably damn near 20 years ago, like we were both really good at the arcade game Dance Dance Revolution, and I played it competitively, and he was really good too, but he was not as good. He was not as competitive as me.
I was not as good
in that space.
I wanted to.
He was the Don back then.
I mean, one of them. There were people that were better than me, but I was pretty good. But ended up like around like 2006. Really starting to focus on like building businesses online and figuring out how to make money online.
How did you first, like, what made you want to do that even? You know, get into your first companies online?
Well, I mean, I started out, it's interesting how things come around, because I started out really in like probably around like 2003, 2004, selling things on eBay. And like literally just like getting stuff shipped in. It was I was getting things shipped in from overseas. Everything wasn't always authentic, but I did ship stuff and I sold it online. That didn't last forever because my accounts eventually got banned. But then I started creating like websites, and the first website I created was a website called sportfiends.com. It was about sports in 2006, and then eventually that transitioned into HailMaryJane.com, which the tagline is, it was supposed to be a sports blog, and then I got high. And the Hail Mary Jane was like Hail Mary pass for football, and then Mary Jane. We all know what that is.
Yeah, that's dope. And Ben, you was writing for that blog, weren't you?
Yeah, around 2010.
Yeah.
Late 2010, early. Yeah, 2010. 2010. Because I didn't really start blogging until like 2009, like the year before. Yeah.
And you just like were really into writing, and so you're like, yo, let me start adding on to the splash that's already happening.
Yeah, no, for sure. I was writing, and then I've known Lenny from arcade things, so he got me into like making things online. Right. Like I didn't really fully understand it. Right. So like
you saw him doing it.
Yeah,
and
he
made it
for other companies and for bigger things, and then afterwards, like, just what went on behind it. So I was like, all right, this is like how you like the back end of it. All right, like this is cool. I write. Let me figure out how I can make these things that people promote. So
and then you started a sports media company from seeing that vision.
Yeah, I wrote a lot, and then I wrote for a lot of people, and then like I was writing for a lot of people at once. Like I was like a professional freelancer, and I did that, and then I stopped writing. I just abruptly stopped writing. I got into photography, and then I was still doing sports, and then I was doing like interviews mostly, and then I got into sports, and then I was like, all right, this is cool, and then after seeing like a need, then I started like, all right, let me like make this a thing. Like 2 years later,
and to like create an actual media company.
Yeah,
that was the need.
Yeah, no. Well, there I saw certain things that like services that like I could offer that there was need for, and like I had to like legitimize it. Like I was doing it already for 2 years. Right. Because it was easy to come from writing into like it's content creation. Like, so it's easy to go from writing to like shooting, like, or to taking pictures and
like putting it all together.
Yeah, it's like it's different skills, but it wasn't anything foreign. So I was like in 2 years, like I was like, all right, I figured out a need and made the company.
That's what's up. And then I know you sold your first company, right? Yeah. So tell us about that process, like building a media company and then selling it. How was that for you?
Like just like building anything else, like it's all about consistency. It's all about like continuing to put in the work, whatever it is that you need to do in order to help that company to build. It's about keeping good people around you. And, so I started Hail Mary Jane in 2008, and, I just saw how the cannabis industry was changing. At that time, people were scared to post weed pictures of themselves on Twitter. Like Instagram wasn't even really a thing yet.
Right.
And I was just like starting to write about how things were transitioning, what was happening, how the laws were changing. Started covering events around probably, I want to say around 2010, like around this time we started.
And this was out in the East Coast?
Yeah, so we're both from Jersey. And I through learning what I learned on Hail Mary Jane, I was able to get freelance social media gigs with companies. Like I was the first social media guy for Complex Magazine, and I did social media for LA Weekly as well. And that stuff allowed me to move to New York and then eventually move to LA, cover cannabis events.
Because that's what brought you out here for the first time, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
It was just covering events because it was popping off out here. Things were changing out here.
Yeah, that's when we first met. I had a cannabis agency downtown, and I think you came to one of those events, right? And that was an interesting time because it was like things just recently got legalized. Everyone was doing events, and there was also a lot of companies. There was a whole bunch of brands spending money.
It was Wild Wild West out here.
Yeah, it was a wild. A lot of people were losing money too. A lot of damn, 90% of those brands aren't around no more.
This is very true.
And dispensaries.
Yeah, and
Wow.
it's really sad to see that
crazy.
because there were so many people that had been in the cannabis industry for decades. Their families had like their grandparents had grown weed and stuff like that,
and they saved money to try to make it legal.
Yeah,
and they got wiped off the board.
They got wiped out, and big money came in. Like the corporate companies came in and changed that space a lot.
It has changed a lot, and I think that we're still seeing the evolution of the cannabis industry now. In LA, right? It's not even legalized around the country yet. So we still have a lot of growth to happen, right?
Yeah. But correct me if I'm wrong, right? We're in Cali, right? We're in Los Angeles. There's a lot of what look like smaller stores, what maybe look like mom and pop stores. Is that not?
I mean, but you gotta understand when I first came out to LA, 2012, there was literally dispensaries on every block.
I remember seeing the
block.
Green. I'm hip. The green sign, the green plus, the green plus everywhere.
As much as Starbucks, for real, it was insane out here.
It was insane.
Yeah, it was the wild, wild west, bro.
They couldn't shut them down quick enough.
Yeah. It was a different time, but so I documented a lot of that stuff, and really once it became legal, and to be honest, I built up a team. I had a lot of good people around me, but certain people had moved on, and I felt the heart of it was gone. I was really burnt out, and it was just time for a transition into something new. Yeah. Cannabis was becoming legalized, so this was a time where there was a lot of interest in purchasing the domain, a lot of interest from a lot of different sources. Right. And I was able to get a good deal.
That's what's up. And, I think at the end of the day, we build things, some of those things we sell, and you learn through that process. What do you want to do next? And so here we are years later, talking about NFTs. I know y'all are still building media companies and projects. So why don't y'all talk a little bit about what y'all are working on right now and just not even just what you're working on, but as you see the crypto and NFT space grow, how have you been seeing the intersection of creating media companies, creating content, and now you see NFTs coming out, which is content, right? And there's digital ownership attached to this content. So where are y'all seeing things going as far as where y'all come from?
I mean, there's art and there's content, right? There's things that there's things that are just filler that need to be there. You make some things because you need something, but there's things that take thought and time and things like that, right? Mm-hmm. So what I like about NFTs, it allows things to live almost forever. You could document how something travels, right? Mm-hmm. You could see the ownership, but one of the illest things, it's once it's minted and it's yours. and I don't fully know where I'm going with this, but there's just a lot. There's a lot to like about NFTs.
Well,
right? If you're creative, right, you fuck with NFTs because you can do a lot of different things.
What like creatively, like what do you like about them? You know, you're talking about seeing them travel. What else do you like about them as
like
a creative?
I'm not a hoarder. I'm like a collector, right? So it's like I like.
What's the difference between a hoarder and a collector in your
opinion?
opinion?
All right, a hoarder has things for no reason, right? A collector has their things and they're pretty
It's
meticulous
like
and they know why they have it and they have it for a reason. It might complete something. They might need it because they have a lot of this or they collect that particular thing. Right? A hoarder just has things for no reason.
Right.
Collectors, they tend to have reasons for why they have this, right? Whether it's monetary value, whether it's sentimental. Right.
That's interesting. But I want to just jump in and just say, like, I really appreciate some of the things I'm seeing with artists having opportunities to generate revenue with their art, you know, and I really like, you know, not everybody is getting rich overnight with it, but and I still have a lot to learn, but even completely separate than this, I really appreciate that, like, you know, Ben has really been inspirational for me in like really learning about it. You've been really inspirational for me in learning about it. And I'm still like relatively new. Like I'm learning a lot about NFTs. And so for me, my goal is like being on the show is to learn as much as I give. Like I have a lot of experience in creating content, creating things digitally. And, you know, now we're working together on a project, you know, surrounded by some of the work that we've done previously. And I don't know if like what specific, if you want to go into some of the other projects you're working on, but you know, I just think it's interesting that, like, you know, we started out, like I was showing him some of this stuff about how to create content and things online. And now he's teaching me stuff. He's calling me every day. He's telling me things every day. Like he's reading articles every day. He's on it.
No, for sure. I wouldn't be doing online. Like I wouldn't be working in this space. Like if he didn't teach me WordPress, you know, I didn't know that like I don't know. Are you familiar with WordPress? Right. So you see how you nodded? It was like, oh yeah, I know WordPress, Jetpack, and all that shit, plugins. I didn't. Like I had no.
It's either you either know it or you don't. Right.
I had no clue, but I knew I like writing. Like I just knew that was the thing I like to do, and I like, you know, I like certain things, and I feel like my interests aligned with like a lot of things with the internet. So I just had no clue. But he had a website. He was doing this, so I was like, yo, WordPress. All right, you could do this. Cool. Like so. When that happens and there's people like that, you gotta reciprocate, and it's so much easier. It makes working to get like, you know. So like with the project we're doing now, like it's based off of a lot of stuff that we did before. We have all these moments, like all these authentic moments that you can't recreate we have them. And like I have an artist friend, right? And he guilted me the other day. He's like, yo, so I'm big in photography. I love photography. Like I love taking pictures. That's my thing, right? He's like, yo, you're selfish because you have all these pictures and all this shit and you don't share this shit. Like, that shit is selfish, right? So when you think about that, like, that shit was mad. It guilted me. It made me feel like, damn, like, and I fought back. I was a little combative about it, but I was like, damn, maybe, you know what I mean? I think I was combative because I kind of believed it.
Well, it's like, just into your point, into his point, it's like creatives, we can be selfish because we want things to be quote unquote perfect. You know, and in that sense, you know, or not even sometimes it's not even just perfect where it's like, I'm gonna do it at the perfect time. You know, so there's like a part of like, you know, us being somewhat selfish because like think about all the songs that didn't get written, you know what I mean? All the books that didn't get written, all the movies that never get made. For sure. And there is like think about your favorite movie or your favorite song and then think about life without it. Like, it's like, oh shit, it's like, could be devastating, you know? So that's where I do agree, you know, the selfishness of just like a way to look at it, you know, of just like, damn, who, like, kind of like the thing with my homie Chi, right? The same concept. Like when I learned about NFTs, my whole mission, that's why I started the show.
First off, shout out to you, man, Chi. Shout out to Ray Bentino, right? Fucking his daughter's killing it right now. His daughter's killing it right now, right? Shout out to the source, Londell. You know what I mean? Do the right thing. Yeah. You know, shout out to, man, rest in peace, and just, you know, people being able to receive, you know, at the right time. You know, just like getting information, like
WordPress. You know, that's like it opens a whole portal to a whole audience, right? Like, you know how to write, but then that gives you almost a magazine, you know, or your own newspaper.
My own newspaper.
Yep, straight up. And it's like, that's how I look at NFTs, where it's like, you know, and just to bring it back, like, he fought for intellectual property. He was in a court case with the Notorious B.I.G.'s estate over intellectual property, a federal case, you know? So it's like, and his whole thing was, yo, as a photographer, I own the intellectual rights to
Which is true.
To this image, right?
Anything made in a photographer's camera is the property of that photographer. It's
bulletproof, and just like, and what can you do with that image, right? In the estate being like, you can't do much with it, but him as the photographer being like, no, the reason why these images exist is because of me. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? And so to be able to get that information and then say, okay, now I don't need anybody else as a middleman. I don't need Christie's. I don't need any of these auction houses, right? Sotheby's to put up, because that's what he was doing. I'm put this out like directly to consumer. That's like the WordPress. Mm-hmm. You know, the concept of like, you had intellectual property. The only thing missing was everybody who could see it, right? Because you could sit there and write, put it in your notebook, nobody sees it. And, you know, we're really at this new time of social media. It's interesting. All right. So it's like, y'all know about like postmodernism, the concept of postmodernism at all? So
for conversation.
Yeah. So like Virgil talks about it a lot, but essentially it's a modern time that we're in where it's like, you know, everything is now seen, right? So it's like, you think about the Wizard of Oz. Y'all seen the Wizard of Oz movie? Okay. Right? Like behind the scene is the wizard. And everybody was all like, oh, he's doing so much. It was like an old man, like just moving shit, not really knowing what was happening. So that's postmodernism. Is like, because of the internet, we see behind everything, right? So the conglomerates, the media companies, we used to not see none of that shit. It was just like, you got Hollywood, you had the newspapers, magazines, that's it. You ain't seeing behind here. You want a record deal, you get a record deal, you get a shit deal. That's it. You know, but like, we don't care if you're Prince, we don't care if you're Michael Jackson, this is what you get. And now postmodernism is like, we get to see behind the scenes. You know, and so it's like, and not only do we get to see behind the scenes, we don't even need them no more. It's like directly, like I'll make a movie, go direct, YouTube, boom. Yeah. Like you put it on straight, you can put it on Instagram TV, you know, it's like, or have a show, boom, straight to the people, Joe Rogan. You know what I mean? Like bigger than most media companies now. So that's what I see, like NFTs are riding the wave of social media, where it's a direct to consumer play, where it's part of postmodernism, where it's like, the middleman is getting eroded. You know, that's what social media did, is it eroded the middleman. Yeah. Like I remember I had this crazy moment watching, you remember when DJ Khaled's Snapchat got real big? Yeah. Yep. And I remember just seeing this shit and it was getting big, and I was just like, I had this dawning moment. I was like, okay, they're turning everybody into reality TV stars. And like, you remember The Real World? And how dope that shit was. Yeah, I used to fuck with that shit.
I remember. I had my favorite character that I wanted to see in the challenge. Oh yeah. And I wanted to see them get all of like the bread and win the key.
That shit was hard.
Like I needed that.
That shit was hard, right? And like, if you think about it, that was like the first reality TV show. Like straight up. It was way back.
It is the first reality TV show.
It was, bro. And that shit was fire. And now, like, that's what we all are. Like when I watch your Instagram stories, I'm watching your reality TV show. You know, and so it's like,
real.
And so now as we think about like, damn, and how we watch each other, like it's kind of crazy. Like we watch each other in a way where like, I'm seeing what y'all is doing, like just like a reality show. And so now, and that's like Instagram and Facebook is so smart because they're putting their ads. It's like everybody just turned into Real World, and now the ads is running in between all that shit, right? But the cool thing about it is like, well, now you got these big stars. Remember how big they got? Remember how big those cats got? Those reality, like the MTV people got big for a while. Like it was getting like all of a sudden it was getting.
It was some of them still act in movies and shit, right? And like some of them are like, you know what I mean? Like
they made the right moves.
Yeah, made the right moves.
My man is a wrestler.
Yeah.
They got a whole WWF wrestler. Like, and he wanted to be a dwrestler then. And then he didn't have a way. He got on the show.
Because once you're famous,
make me a wrestler. I'm a wrestler. And he's been wrestling longer than he's been not on. Longer than he's not on Real World. More time has passed in the Real World. Like, less time has passed since he was on Real World than he's been wrestling. Yo, there probably is.
And so now we're in this space, right, of like, you don't need the middleman. And that's also crypto, like bringing it full circle to crypto. Like, okay, the middleman.
What, you don't need a bank?
Yeah, the banks. It's like I got my own fucking safety deposit box in my pocket that I could travel cross country. Nobody can steal it. I don't even need a gun. Come steal it. You gotta break my mind to steal it, right? And it's just like, that is such a powerful concept. On top of like, all right, now we don't need these media conglomerates to move, and now we don't even need the banks to get access to our bread.
Have you seen Robinhood Cash? Okay, right. Robinhood Cash gives you a debit card for your Robinhood account. Mm-hmm. So whatever is just available in your brokerage account, right? Mm-hmm. So in theory, right? I could have, or anybody could have, in theory, right? Bought a shit ton of like dog eat whatever coin, right? I'm not trying to make this a conversation about that. No, it's an example, right? A shit ton of it at 1 cent, right? Mm-hmm. And then fucking like, I don't know, $1,000 at 1 cent, right? And then cashed out when it was at 40 cents, right? Left it in their thing as just their balance, right? And now with Robinhood Cash, you have 16 digits now that you can like access to it.
Yeah.
So it's directly access to just the cash you have in the account, not anything.
Here's the illest thing. Today they announced support for Apple Pay with support for Google Pay coming later on in the year, right?
And that's coming. Like I heard Amazon's doing the same thing where they're getting ready to accept crypto.
Yes, I keep hearing that. Yeah. They denied it. They denied it like a week ago or something.
It's gonna.
But like the prices of crypto, the way that it's going up right now, I'm counting down to it hitting 3,000 again.
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen today.
And so like these things, the macro side of these things are, the world is shifting so quickly, right? Because perfect example, right? We're sitting here talking about you selling a digital company, like, you know what I mean, a digital media company, and now this is just going to be so much more common. Like, to have crypto as the base layer of payments for the internet, like it really changes the game, right?
What PayPal should have been.
Yeah, exactly. It took time, right? It's like everything takes time. Yeah. Like if you think about the electric car, like electric car has been in existence since like the 30s. Electric motor has been around.
That's true.
For a long time. But it's like things for some reason they take time, and it's just like, I see the NFT, it was almost just like, this had to happen because for me, the next revolution is gaming. It's funny because y'all met around gaming. And when you said that, I'm like, damn, that it's real crazy.
All these Ether-based games? Have you been following Axie Infinity?
I have.
Do you play?
I don't play, but
Do you have any of the NFTs?
I don't have any Axies. I was just telling
you're bugging.
I was just telling the homie, I'm like, man,
the price is gonna go up on that.
I feel like I'm late, but my homie said I'm not late. You know what I mean? But it feels like I'm late.
Here's the illest thing about crypto. We were talking about this before. You're never late if it's not too late.
If more people are coming,
you're never late. It's too late when it's out of reach.
I know,
right?
It's
$200
Axie. I was gonna say it's like a wave. Yeah. You're still going up.
$200 Axies right now.
You could have won more earlier, but it's not too late to win.
That's the thing. I'm cheap when I'm like, damn, I didn't win. Because I got into some projects early. I will say I'm getting into this new project. If y'all want to fuck with it, it's called Chicken Derby. Okay. Man, that shit is basically like Zed-Run with chickens. So you hatch the chickens. Zed-Run is the digital horse racing.
Oh,
yeah. So you take the chickens, you're hatching the chickens, you're same concept. You know what I mean?
Breeding them? Can you breed them the way that you can on the blockchain?
Yeah. So I think, and the thing is like some of the heavy whales who are already killing in Zed, they're getting into that game. So it's like, that's how like, okay, is this going to be adapted because the same players will play, you know what I mean? And that's the same thing with NFTs. Like the way that I find a lot of these projects is I look into people's wallets, right? Because everything's on the blockchain. And I'm like, dang, this dude, he has all these NFTs. He knows what's up. I'm like, well, what are these new shits? That's when I started seeing the horses and a couple people, I'm like, what the fuck are these horses? I keep seeing these horses and I heard someone talking about them. And I was like, I did the research. I was like, that shit makes sense. It was before anybody really talked about it, and I got into the drop.
When was this?
This was like March.
Damn, yes.
It was right before it really blew up. And then the next drop, I couldn't even get no horses. I was in 3 drops. I didn't get no other horses. It was so packed. And now I think you can't get no more. You just got to get them out the secondary market. And that's the thing about the Axie. It's just like, you could still get them. It ain't like you out the game.
200.
Yeah, you're still in the game.
It's $200 like dollars right now, right?
Yeah, that's not bad.
It's not what it was when it was 15.
Yeah, 15. Right? See what I'm
saying? It's not what it was when it was 15.
That's a nice little 10x, right? 2x right there.
Very,
just right there.
Very close to it.
I like that.
That's a 12. That's like a 50. That's like a 12.
20x.
No, that's like 12,000. 12. Yeah, 12,000.
I'm in it for the gains. You know what I mean? And like
1,200.
It's wild. There's some Z horse breeders who like they got a bunch of Z1s and they're just printing Z2s.
Bro, all our shit. I don't understand. You know what I don't understand? The games that I understand are the land-based games.
You say you don't understand?
No, that I do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. I don't understand horse racing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand.
Well, here's what I'll say just for everyone. You ever seen a real horse racing?
Yes.
So that's it. Like
live in Jersey.
That's the thing. It's like if you understand real horse racing, this is a better version.
Okay. Right. I buy my NFTs. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It comes with its set attributes. Right.
Mm-hmm.
How do I increase the attributes?
The thing is like you can't right now, but like you'll find out in horse racing. Horse racing, yeah, you're gonna have a trainer, but that's not how it works. It's about breeding. Like at the end of the day,
all I just have to keep buying these shits and breeding them with each other.
Yep. And that's the thing. It's like you find the right breed, you get a right horse. It's just like a regular horse breeder. Like anybody can go get some horses and start breeding horses, and you might get a champion. If you breed a champion, it's your lucky day. But it's like, what's the chances of you breeding a champion without championship lineage? It's less likely, but it's not impossible. You know what I mean? So it's like. That's kind of the same thing. It's hard to see it because it's digital, but honestly, the real world is not that different. You can get some trainers, but they're not going to make a championship horse. The championship horse is going to be bred. You feel what I'm saying?
The line between the digital world and the real world is getting thinner by the day.
Thinner and thinner. So here's the thing. A lot of people who own real horses are getting into Zed. To own a real horse costs you $40,000 per year. Managing that horse.
Yeah, no.
That's per year.
I've heard.
You might as well buy one digital horse and that motherfucker is staying alive. So it's like there's a lot of people. And then now you also got animal cruelty breathing down their neck. That's gonna be a tight one because
digital animal cruelty.
Because no. For the real horses. Yeah. So you gotta think about it. It's a lot of pain for them horses. So you got people who are like, man, all right. We don't need this anymore. We got digital horses. That's going to be a whole nother stress to the real horse racing.
Wow.
NASCAR just sponsored the horse racing, so they're getting ready to do their own little thing.
Listen, NFTs it's never too early. It will not take off until there's a good way to display all this shit. There has to be a way that just anybody can sit down and just like, nobody wants to fucking go through blockchain transactions.
It's coming.
And I'm not just saying this like for me. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to sit down and be like, all right, like, what did the NFT I mint today? What did that do? And you have to follow it on the blockchain and like, oh, you know what I mean?
I look at it like
everything has to become layman.
People like this. You remember MySpace?
Yes.
You remember remember it was like to make your MySpace look a certain way, you had to do all coding and shit.
One of my first online businesses was creating those code generators.
All right, so now
shout out to Max Pages. They
compare that to how easy it was to do Facebook, right? So it's like as technology evolves, things become more technologically way easier. Right now, it's just like
Facebook didn't leave me.
It's still the wild west.
It's just a lot more technical and it's a lot less user friendly. To your point. It's like you know, you got to get in there. It's raw. You got gas fees. You know, people, bro. I don't even want to say how much money I've lost in gas fees. You know, it's just like But then it's like, okay, now I'm looking at the gains. It's like if I'm just looking at the L's, then you don't look at everything you've made from taking those L's. But it's like being there early, you kind of have to do that. Like, how many people have gotten hacked? You know, how many people have just like, there's so many things that in the beginning, things fuck up, they break, projects go to zero. And so there's just a lot of learning, but that's the MySpace stage. Now that shit,
so
like,
we're
look
in
how
the
much
MySpace
cleaner,
stage right now.
Look how much cleaner Facebook is than MySpace was a mess.
Yeah, they left it open. They let us code on it.
Do whatever you want.
They let us code on it.
You're like, this shit ain't loading for nothing. Motherfuckers got 3 songs playing.
Yeah.
Right?
It was a mess.
That shit was a mess.
Yeah. I loved it. It was
creative, but
possible.
it's like now, and then if you compare that to Tumblr, right? Tumblr did that. It's like, all right, you want to do all that, boom. We got a place for you. Here's the Facebook of MySpace. We're going to clean it up, you know? And so I think, and I love Tumblr. Like, I still love Tumblr. I think it took
great platform.
It took tools
I was never on
it. to make it just more user friendly and make it look cleaner. I think we're just in a weird spot with everything is so like open source, you know what I mean? And so things will get there. I think Twitter right now is making a wallet. Right, and they want to make like a accessible wallet to everybody.
I seen Square's making a physical wallet.
Okay, yeah, and I mean they're basically the same company, Twitter and Square, you know, with Jack Dorsey at the helm. So I think these things are happening. It's really all about like what is going to bring the general user into crypto, because right now it's interesting. Like NFTs is culture. Right. So you got culture bringing people into crypto for the first time. Like, that's why I got into crypto, is because of the art. I wasn't there because like, oh, the number goes up. Like, that shit never made sense to me. I'm not going to lie. It was just like, okay, making money makes sense. But I'm looking at it like, if I'm going to invest in crypto, there's thousands of cryptos, but I don't know nothing about tech. Right. Like, I'm just going to lose my money. Right. That was my assumption. And then I'm looking at it like Bitcoin's $50,000. I already missed that. That was my assumption, but it was an ignorant one. You know what I mean?
Sure, it was 20,000 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
27.
You know, and so I think it's just like, that's why I think these shows are so important, because to the average person, it's like, why would I fuck with that? You know, it's like, nah, I'm not fucking with that. Why should I? And it's like, well, there's culture. You know, you got art coming, you got music coming, you got games coming. You don't fuck with games, you don't fuck with music, you don't fuck with art. Like, that's hard to say no to all 3 of those. Yeah. You know, you don't want to sit there and stare at a screen and watch the number go up. I understand that. You know, not everybody wants to get down with that. You know, but like buying art, you know, as soon as people start really selling their music via NFTs, that's going to be a game changer. I heard Tory Lanez is about to do that shit. Like, he has a whole little thing he's doing, and I think, you know, it's just gonna change the game. I know the brother, I'm getting ready to interview him, who's managing Floyd Mayweather's NFT project. He already sold. I'm looking at it today. He sold like 4,000 NFTs today. Nice. And he's like feeding like 100.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he's feeding like 150,000 people with the NFTs he's selling. So it's like, this is all brand new. And I think he has 10,000 of those NFTs. And it's like, those are in pre-sale. Most likely going to sell every last, I'm going to buy one. You know what I mean? So it's like,
here's the thing though. I think that, you know, like we're talking about how does this become something that like more like that the more mainstream public can get into, and especially if we're talking about like, you know, people from our community, the Black community, you know, this is a time where like it's still in the early phases, you know, in general, in the grand scheme of things. And I think about like when I was getting into blogging, when I was getting into social media, because there's a lot of parallels with everything. Like, it's interesting how like you talked about like the gaming, and that's coming around, and social media, and like we were a part of watching like that transition. Like, there was a time where like we knew how to really maneuver and get our stuff to the front of big pages, big websites, right. get eyeballs on all of our content. Like, we knew how to work the system. Right. And I think it's a matter of like learning it as it's evolving now, and not being scared to jump in, you know, because like because of that, it opened up so many opportunities for us that, like, in the real world, that we never would have thought we would have had the opportunity to do. And I see this as being the exact same thing. Like, I see this as being something where, you know, like, what you're doing with this show is so important. It's so important for us to see people that look like us, to know that, like, we can jump in on this, like, we can figure it out. Like, I mean, I think we're all pretty intelligent people, but we're not smarter than, like, just anybody out here. Like there's people that can do this. You know what I mean? There's people out here that can absolutely do this, and I just love that we're in this time in history, because I think this time in history, the way that we're starting to look at money, the way that, like, the world is starting to operate with money, like, everything is changing right now, and it's going to be something that is going to be really mainstream, just like how social media is now. Like, it's just a regular thing. Like, it's not a big deal, but, you know, and that's how this is going to be in like 10, 15 years, you know? So now's the time. It's not too late, you know?
Absolutely. I think it's really early, and not only is it early, it's like, we are here also creating it. It's like, that's how early it is. Like how y'all were creating blogs, like y'all were fundamentally creating what people thought of when it came to content. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's how I felt about High Standards. It's like, we're creating a standard for what cannabis events look like. You know, regardless if we're here or not, like, people are going to have to be like, okay, this is a way you can do it. You know, and I think that NFTs, when it comes to Black and brown folks, we have so many great ideas. You know, that's why I keep bringing it back to Chi. Like, that wasn't even going to happen. You see what I'm saying? Like, that 6 figures wasn't going to be in his account. It was literally just me hitting him up and be like, yo, do this. Now those 6 figures in his account.
To be used however as it stayed, and that's amazing.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like, and so we all have this ability, like y'all might have, like, right now, it's like, you start seeing some of the NFT projects that are out there, right? You look at like Floyd Mayweather's, you look at what other people are doing. It's like, oh, I'm about to do this, you know what I mean? And do it in this way. And we're all sitting back like, damn, that's dope. Like, we haven't seen that yet. Like, that's because that's already
if you're creative, man, you'll win. You'll win in this space.
Yeah, because that's already what's happening. It's kind of like, it blows my mind, actually, like, as a creative, but also as like an entrepreneur, right? So it's like, going to New York, it always blew my mind, like going to the Canal Street, right? And be like, damn, like, they all sell the same shit. Like, straight up. Like, and even the exact same shit. And I used to be like, damn, like, you just don't want to have like a couple just original things. And it's like, that's just the way of the world is so monkey see, monkey do. And that's what I'm trying to explain. Like, we can show people how to do things differently, because truth be told, one of those people started first. It was one of them shops started first, and then one of them cats like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do it.
They all
just
didn't
like
have the coin purses. Somebody like fucking seen their kid watch a rap video and was like, yo, coin purses. Yo, I seen that on the fucking Alibaba shit. I'm gonna get that.
Yeah, and then the next person bites it, and the next person
to the table next to them was like, oh, your coin purses.
It's cracking.
Let me get them.
They flipping. Yup. And so that's
somebody has to teach.
Yeah, I want us to not only like follow, but like create the trends too. You know, it's like, because I think that's part of our magic, is we're not here just to follow. It's like, look at hip hop, and you know, do y'all see that the Locks versus Dipset?
Of course.
Right? And like,
I mean, you might see a tear come down his eye.
Bro, I feel that shit.
Do you want to see a dead body? Because I seen one on Thriller.
I'm telling you.
I seen 4 of them.
Man.
Don't do drugs, kids. Please.
Stay away from the pills.
And what I want to say to that is like, all right, so I peeped something while that was all happening. Like, I peeped the beauty of hip hop. Like, and so that the verses is also bringing it back to the essence of hip hop, which is battling on stage as a crew, right? It's like almost the essence of the OG in the parties. And it's like, all right, if you just think about MCs on stage rhyming and not only just rhyming, but like as an American, right? So think of all the things Americans love: jewelry, women, cars, houses. And like hip hop takes all the top of what America loves, and it's like, all right, you love all this. this is what I'm about to show you. And I'm about to do it in this rhyme form. And it's just like, you couldn't ignore that if you wanted to. Okay. You feel what I'm saying? Like, and that's what I see, like what we can build. It's just like how to do it. You said something, I think it was so important. Like, we learned how to get into the blogs and how to connect with the right people what got attention, right? Yeah. That's the same thing that's happening now. It's like, all right, how do we figure it out in a way where it's like, this project's going to get attention, you know, or not only get attention, but people are going to want to use it, you know, and that's, I think, part of what like hip hop is. It's like, all right, we all are dope, but we're going to go next to y'all. Y'all are dope, but we're going to battle y'all, which competition, right? Like, look at the Olympics. How old is that form? The verses, right? And it plays into our inherent spirit of like, yo, to be tribal, like, fuck them. We're about to win. Fuck them. Right. That's just like in our spirit. So I just think that like, if you take some of the things that we've already dominated, because sometimes we do things so well, we don't even understand what's happening. You see what I'm saying? And like, why is
you're in the moment. You're in the moment and you're in it. Like,
you can't see your own growth. It's like your eyebrows are so close to you, but you can't see it. Everybody else might see it. That's kind of what related to what you guys were talking about being an artist and like, you know, kind of like being a perfectionist in a lot of ways, or like, you know, holding back like that art. I think it's all related to this because it's like, you know, other people can see how dope it is what you're doing. Everybody else can see it, right? But when you're so close to it, you're in the growth process. You're just thinking every day, like, how do I get better? And like, you might not even have taken account to how far you've come.
You don't see your genius.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's a fact. And, you know, I think what helps with that is like what y'all are doing, keeping people around you, right? You keep people, like-minded 100%. People around you who are a reflection of what you're doing. And
gotta have a strong team. Gotta have a strong team.
You know, and I think that's something that we're still learning in the Black community, how to build that, you know, how to build together, how to hit up your homie and be like, yo, did you hear about this thing? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I just made a bunch of bread. Like, we're still learning how to do that.
It has to get normalized, bro. Like, I have the same conversations with everybody, right? Mm-hmm. I can't have conversations, but like, it might make more sense for me to have it with him than like one of my other mans. Mm-hmm. Not for any other reason. It's just received differently, right? Yeah. So it's just not normalized, like this way of getting money. Mm-hmm. Like if we bring it all just back to commerce and money, right? It's not normalized like this. Like, yo, this stock is down. I feel like it's a growth stock. I think we should put all our money into it. Like, and like when it's between this number and this number, and then we sell when it's this number and this number. Like, that's not regular for us, right? But that is for people. People have these conversations all the time. Some people are paid big money to tell other people this shit, whether they know it or not, whether they're right or not. So a lot of it just comes with normalizing shit. Like, this has to be seen and done, and seen again, and then seen by other people, and do it like that.
Well, to that point, like, I feel like hip hop like started the trend of normal. Like now as Black folks, like, we're trying to make as much money as possible. Like, that's that's in our spirit. And it's not like it wasn't before, but I feel like I love Jay-Z. And his whole thing is like, fuck you, pay me. You know, and the reason why that's so important is just like, because we wasn't getting paid. And like, we, as Black people, it's like, we somewhat just like dealt with it, you know, because we had to. And it was like, hip hop was one of the first generations was like, nah, pay us like you owe us. Yeah. You know what I mean? And
sometimes.
It was like, it started the void. I think what it was like, we didn't always get paid, but it was the attitude. And then we got paid. Yeah. We were getting fucked in the beginning, for real. But the attitude got us to the promised land, you know? And so which
is true. It's cool to be a businessman now.
Yeah, it really is, bro. It really is.
To be a businessman.
And look at Jay-Z's transition into a businessman. And that kind of shows you, like, it's not cool. He don't push crack no more. Like, even talking about, oh, you got cash, all that shit, like the money phone, like, and so just that sending a message to Black America where it's like, let's get our business together, you know, because now someone did it who kind of was like, yo, fuck y'all. Cause I think the fuck you pay me is just like, we're gonna do it our way. You know, and that's the thing. It's like in America, you kind of have to whitewash yourself, or you had to in many ways, in order to get the bag. And then hip hop was the first thing where it was just like, nah, like you're gonna accept us as we are. And it took a while, but now like you see Migos on fucking Mountain Dew commercials. See the thing,
Doritos commercials.
Yeah, the thing about it,
and
I say this shit all the time. They're not in those commercials because those companies want them in those commercials. They're in those commercials because they got too much fucking power.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying?
They know there's money to be made by having them in those commercials.
Nothing changed.
Yeah.
Nothing changed from the 80s till now. Their view of us didn't change. It's just that we're too powerful now. Yeah. We can't be stopped now. And so I think we're entering this phase where it's like, okay, normalizing business, that goes into crypto. Like I think about this with crypto, right? Like crypto is turning the average American into a fucking stock trader. Like you think about all the little crypto like logos and shit and like the little 3-letter words. It's like everyone thinks about that now. That's not how people were thinking 20 years ago. Like trading, like people
especially in our community.
Especially in our community. But even just, I'll say the majority of Americans weren't thinking like that, right? And so now we're in a whole new era where there's people talking about trading, thinking about making money, thinking about like you're talking about Robinhood, like we do have Robinhood. Like our community is fucking with Robinhood.
Yo,
you know, if it's just a little
seen
tag.
People be outside and turn like $1,000 legally into tens of thousands of dollars with like a single play. I know that this exists for people.
Same.
So when you see it,
I've done it.
Right. So it's like when you see it, it's like it's amazing. You know, it just has to be seen more and like shared more, and the information has to be there, and people have to be receptive to it.
Yeah. And felt, right? Because it's like, I seen my brother did this. He invested in Doge, and I think he said he put like 3-some in, and all of a sudden that shit jumped to like, I think he said like 3,300, right?
Yeah, all right, so 10x pop.
Yeah, and it's like, and to your point, like, all right, when you feel that, when you see your brand that you was just working hard, you was busting ass at it, doing sales shit, right? You see that money 10x, you're like, damn, it would have taken me 10 of those paychecks.
Right.
And that's a feeling you get inside of yourself, right? Of like,
you want it again.
You want it again. You know what I mean? That dopamine hit.
Yeah, of course.
Right? And so I think that's what's so special about this time with crypto. And that's why I like Doge, not as like a crypto.
Yo,
for
is it
people to
Doge?
invest in.
Side note, is it Doge or is it Doggy?
I call it Doge. I think, it's too pronounced. People pronounce it however. But a lot of people call it Doge.
I call it Doge.
I think a lot. I truly believe that it's Doggy. It's a dog and it's the letter E coin, right? The fucking icon is a dog. Like I believe, and I've never like. There's no evidence.
Sounds. I don't know. It's like
a lot of people do. A lot of people do, right? A lot of people do, and I feel like I'm on my own with this, but like because this is a podcast, you know what I mean? I wanted this documented. Yeah, I wanted documented. I believe this shit is Doggy.
It's like some people be calling it F. That should be fucking me up.
F?
When they be like F.
Yo, I'm like half dyslexic. I can't say it's Ethereum.
Yeah.
That's how it is. Right?
Ethereum.
Yo, I'm very known for saying Ethereum. Like I'm
the same way. I got a podcast, but I'll fuck up shit in a minute. You know what I mean? I'll fuck up people's names, how shit's said. I got my linguistics is like, it ain't the best.
So I told him when you stepped out, like I first started selling like, stuff on eBay that I would get from China. A couple of the brands I sold was Christian, I call it Outager and Hardy. Like those that stuff moved.
Yeah, nobody said Christian Outager right. The reason why I knew I said it right because I was dealing with the team. I'm dealing with and they're like, oh, you're buying Christian Outager. I'm like, Outager? That's how you say that shit? Okay, I'm bringing it back up. Like people are like, okay, but as we wrap up, I want to hear like what are y'all working on next? Like how can people tap into y'all's social media? How can they connect and find out about the projects y'all are working on?
Okay. I helped do something like pretty successful in sports, like name, image, and likeness is a thing, and it presents new opportunities. One of them being in NFTs. I helped in a small way. Just logistics of it and kind of like pointing in directions. and it was very good. And now I'm gonna do one hopefully on a bigger scale, on a girls specifically for girls basketball. The last one was sports. It was boys basketball. Again, younger because it's a name, image, and likeness. So, players about to go to college. You can see once we package this, him and I are working on a project. It's gonna archive like throughout the years. I think it's gonna be cool. I don't know how much I can really like talk about it, but I do know like it's gonna be good if you're a fan of cannabis or a fan of history. Like if you like things presented in a cool way, then you should like this. If you want to own something like that might actually be history, like I think it's a project that people who appreciate those things will like.
Dope. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, we're still working out a lot of like, how we're gonna package it, how we're gonna market it, what it's gonna look like. But yeah, I think the general idea is to more or less create a way of presenting like some iconic moments within cannabis history, like educate people on some of the people who've been influential in getting cannabis to where it's at now, and just display some of the history and let people know like how it's gotten to where it's at and kind of where we think it's going, but from an NFT format. So we're working out the details. But yeah, I mean, you could follow us on social media. Like I'm Freeform Buddha on Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, everything is me. You can find just Ben Berry, just B3N.
Y'all on Twitter or just Instagram?
Both. Everything you could possibly think of.
Dope. I'll make sure to include those links in the show notes. So I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe on IG. Make sure you share this shit. Show it to some people you think can use this information. We talking about NFTs, investment, and empowerment. Until next time, peace and love, y'all.
Peace.